The secret I'm about to share isn't easy to tell. Even now, just thinking about it sends a chill through my body. It started as something small, something I thought I could control. But one moment, one unguarded second, changed everything. And what my stepson saw that night still haunts me. Maybe you'll judge me, maybe you'll understand. But either way, once you hear this story, you won't forget it. The house was too quiet that day, the kind of silence that feels heavy, pressing against your chest until you're aware of every little sound, your breath, the hum of the ceiling fan, even the ticking of the clock on the wall. It was late afternoon, and the sun was streaming through the living room window, leaving golden streaks across the hardwood floors. I stood at the kitchen counter with a glass of wine in my hand, staring at nothing in particular. My name is Laura Mitchell, I'm 36, and at that moment, I felt like a ghost in my own life. My marriage to Michael, my husband of 8 years, had withered into something unrecognizable. We weren't enemies, but we weren't partners anymore either. We were two people living in the same house, orbiting around each other without ever colliding. Michael was always working late, always on a business trip, always somewhere else even when he was right in front of me. His absence wasn't just physical. He had stopped looking at me, stopped laughing with me, stopped noticing me. I missed the man who once made me feel like his entire world. Now he was a stranger who nodded absently when I spoke, his eyes glued to his phone or his laptop. I took another sip of wine, letting the bitter taste ground me. I told myself it was just loneliness, that maybe this was normal after years of marriage. But deep down, I knew better. I didn't just feel lonely. I felt invisible. And then there was Ethan, Michael's son from his first marriage. I met him when he was 16, a quiet boy who had already been through more pain than most men ever would. His mother passed away from cancer, and Ethan carried that loss with him like a shadow. Now at 20, he had grown taller than his father, his voice deeper, his shoulders broader. But that quietness, that guardedness, was still there. Lately though, I'd noticed something else too. Subtle things. The way his eyes lingered a little too long when we talked. The way he seemed to watch me, not with judgment, but with something I couldn't quite name. That evening, Michael was in Chicago for a conference, gone for the entire weekend. Ethan was supposed to be out with friends. For once, the house felt like it was mine, and the rare solitude wrapped around me like a fragile blanket. I carried my half-empty glass of wine upstairs, not really knowing what I was looking for, just desperate to feel something other than the emptiness. In my room, I thought I'd closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed, the glow of dusk softening everything around me. My fingers moved absent-mindedly, tracing the hem of my dress, sliding over my skin. It wasn't about desire. It was about reminding myself I was still alive, still capable of feeling something. I let my mind drift. I imagined a pair of eyes that saw me, hands that stayed, a presence that didn't vanish the way Michael's always did. For a moment, I was lost in that quiet, desperate need until the air shifted. I felt it before I saw it, like the room itself had exhaled. And then my eyes snapped open. Ethan was standing in the doorway. My breath caught in my throat, my hand froze, and for 3 endless seconds, we just stared at each other. His dark eyes weren't horrified. They weren't even embarrassed. They were steady, locked on mine, filled with something raw and unspoken. Shame burned through me, but so did something else. Something alive. Something I hadn't felt in years. Then, without a word, Ethan turned and walked away. His footsteps were soft, deliberate. No slammed door. No angry outburst. Just silence. But the space he left behind felt charged, trembling with everything unspoken. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face in that doorway. His expression wasn't disgust, wasn't judgment. It was curious. Maybe even hungry. And the more I replayed it, the heavier the ache in my chest grew. The next morning, I moved through the house like a stranger. I made coffee, I tidied the kitchen, but my hands shook with every movement. When Ethan finally came downstairs, he didn't mention it. He sat at the counter scrolling through his phone, his expression unreadable. But I felt it, the invisible thread pulled tight between us. "Need help?" he asked casually, his voice low. I shook my head too quickly. He didn't press. But when he left the room, I caught a glance. A glance that sent my pulse racing. The days that followed were torture. I tried to avoid him, slipping into other rooms when I heard him coming, but Ethan didn't avoid me. He started appearing more often, helping with groceries, working in the garden, lingering near me in the kitchen. His presence was subtle, but it was constant. And sometimes, when he thought I wasn't looking, I caught his eyes on me, soft, lingering, searching. Then came the storm. Michael was gone again, the rain was battering the windows, and the whole house creaked under the weight of the wind. I was washing dishes in the kitchen when I felt him before I saw him. Ethan. Standing there. Watching me. I think I should leave, he said quietly, almost lost beneath the roar of the storm. My heart dropped. What? I can't stay here. It's not right. His voice was firm, but his eyes betrayed him. They weren't cold. They were conflicted. Without thinking, I stepped closer. Don't. My voice shook. Please don't go. We stood inches apart, the storm raging around us. I reached for him, barely brushing his arm, and he didn't pull away. He stepped into me, and suddenly we were holding each other. Not like family. Not like friends. Like two people desperate for something they couldn't name. My face pressed against his chest, his heartbeat racing beneath my cheek. I should have stepped back, but I didn't. And when our eyes met, the line we'd been tiptoeing around dissolved. It was a kiss. Soft at first. Hesitant. But it was more than a kiss. It was a spark that set fire to everything I thought I knew. When it ended, we didn't speak. Ethan left the kitchen without a word. I stood there, trembling, my mind spinning, my heart pounding. Something had happened, something real, and there was no undoing it. After that night, the silence between us grew sharper, heavier. He avoided me. I avoided him. But my mind replayed the moment endlessly. At dinner with Michael, I caught Ethan's eyes across the table, and my stomach flipped. Every glance, every brush of his hand, left me breathless. The guilt gnawed at me, but so did the longing. I didn't recognize the woman I was becoming. The woman who wanted something she knew she shouldn't. The woman who had already crossed a line. And now I lie awake at night, asking myself, was it a mistake? Or was it the truth I'd been burying for years? Tell me, what would you have done? If you've ever felt that dangerous pull between right and wrong, if you've ever wanted something you knew could ruin everything, share your thoughts below. Because I can't be the only one who's felt this. And if stories like this make you think twice about the secrets people hide, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more on Broken Vows, where the truths we bury always find their way to the surface.